Hi, hello, and welcome back to another episode of my podcast. Now, what was I talking about? My name is V Noir, and this week I'm finally talking about the movie The Back Rooms. I'll just say The Bad Rooms. Oh well. Um, yeah, but I got to see it at Grand Lake Theater. Oh, and apologies for not putting out a video or a episode yesterday. But it was Juneteenth, and honestly, was just kind of busy over at my place in general because my roommate was like preparing for Juneteenth party and everything like that. So there wasn't really a time for me to like record this. And I also had seen the movie on Thursday. So I was like, okay, well, you know, Juneteenth should be fun. And in case you don't know, what Juneteenth is. Like you're listening to this and you're like, I've never heard of that before, and I'm not in America. Juneteenth or June 19th. Um, it is a holiday in which let's see. So the Emancipation Proclamation was established, but 2 years after the fact, um, enslaved people in this town in Texas were given the order that they were free. So basically, yeah, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing all the slaves and everything happened, um, people in Texas were then also told that they were free as well. So uh, Juneteenth is like is a celebration of the total freedom of enslaved people in America. And the Juneteenth celebrations have been going on since then. That was originally in 1865, June 19th, 1865. That was when that happened. And since then, there have been annual um, parties started in Texas, but spread out all throughout the South and stuff. And in 2021, Juneteenth was officially recognized as like a federal holiday. So, which means that like banks and things and like federal employees don't have to work and stuff. And it's like, oh, haha. But where are those reparations? Like, yes, it's cool. This is being celebrated as a national holiday. Like, that's awesome. But what actual monetary gains is given to people who, come from that history, right? Like, I'm like, yeah, especially because we still are dealing with people being incarcerated and that system being put in place to um, create slavery, essentially. It's not funny, but I'm just like, haha, I have to laugh because otherwise I will be angry and sad and depressed. Because of just the levels of which all of this is institutionalized, because especially because people get put behind bars for very minor things, and especially because our our systems are also privatized. Like the prison system is privatized, and there are a lot of corporations that use prison labor, slavery, slave labor, as a means to manufacture their clothing and things like that. And even places like um, in New Orleans, NOLA, um, they they've gone so far as to use imprisoned people as like employees, in like different government facilities, and it's like, what? And these people are going to get paid like next to nothing, like pennies for this stuff. And if you've been incarcerated, you lose the right to vote. So there's also that as well. So it's like, okay, well, we've been freed, but now there's something else to um, you know, create a plight, and all this stuff. But yeah, so and I mean that's another thing about Juneteenth too. It's like we're not free until we're all free, right? So which is why it's such a big celebration too. And yeah. Oh, but a big thing because I'm like I do need to get back into just like having to kind of go back to talking about movies. I need to go back into having sort of a list of stuff that I want to watch because I definitely was like going back and forth between like, okay, do I want to talk about stuff that people are talking about? Do I want to talk about something that just came out? Because I was like thinking about maybe watching Disclosure Day. I think I'll get to that, but I want to, I guess, check out Obsession maybe. Um, but I still am just like, I don't know. Because when I looked more into this movie, I was like, oh, that actress is in the person who plays the therapist in this. She is in a movie I've been meaning to watch called uh The Worst Person in the World. And I'm like, she looks like she's delivering more. Well, one, she's the main character in that, so she's gonna have more of an emotional range in that than she did here because I wasn't really like fully attached to her and our other main character Clark, who I don't know, he's not a great person, and uh, it is a little refreshing to have this main character played by a black man um, be this sort of protagonist that isn't really likable, but you are, following him, and it's like, okay, that's cool. And he doesn't die right away. Uh, I'm like, that's pre spoilers, but yeah. So I'm like, I, I don't know. Oh, but yeah, I'm like, I have a list of movies that I want to talk about, but I'm like, I could also talk about things that are more um in the public zeitgeist right now, like that people are talking about all the time. And I'm like, well, this is my podcast. I can do whatever the fuck I want too. So there's that. Um, yeah, so I'm just like back and forth. I think the biggest thing right now is like, okay, let's just have a day where I'm gonna either go out to the theater, see something that's playing, and uh, or I'm at home watching a movie. And I'm like, if I'm at home watching a movie, that's a little bit easier to just like pick whatever because I have, again, so many movies that I need to watch. And I also need to catch up on like K dramas and just shows in general because I'm like, I haven't watched a I haven't watched like anything in a minute, mainly because I've been um like working on art stuff and just having like a YouTube, like a Smosh video playing or something because Smosh is so like easy to put on. I definitely treat it like just regular television in some ways as well, which is kind of funny because I'm just like, oh well, I gotta put on my stories, and it's like the Smosh Reddit stories or their other like Smosh Mouth episode or something, because that's like their other podcast, or like any of the gaming videos, just like something that I'm like, okay, well, they're wholesome and they're cool too because they've done pro Palestine donation drives, they've done uh like queer, like they've done fundraisers for the Trevor Project. I think that's what it's called. Let me double check. but it's a hotline for queer youth to reach out to. Trevor Project. Yeah, it's a hotline. It is called the Trevor Project. Uh, and it's a suicide hotline for LGBT, just queer youth in general. And I want to say it's named after um a a child who did end up killing themselves. Um, I want to say that is where it comes from. And I'm like, yeah, no. So I'm just happy that, they are people that I watch and they're really popular on YouTube and everything like that. And they are supportive of, queer and trans rights, the people of Palestine, and, and are at least in some way actively saying something about it, because I'm like, so many people have chosen the path of either of like least resistance, of either not saying anything, not acknowledging it, or or just ending up being like Zionists. And it's like, what are we doing here? There were people there before you. You shouldn't just claim to a space because of was written in. I don't even. I'd have to fully look into their whole belief and like why they believe they are entitled to land doesn't that people are already there. And it's like, obviously there's history here, and it's like you could just live there. We shouldn't have a claim to it. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm like, why displace people? You could just be there as well amongst these people. Like, I don't understand the need to displace someone when you could live amongst them. Like, why would we do that? But anyway, um, and again, we're not like, all of our struggles are interconnected, and it's like that is all of that is um a part of like American imperialism, and that being pushed, and like Israel being sort of a satellite state for America to do stuff amongst Middle Eastern countries and stuff. And it's like, that's just awful. And then just thinking about the evangelical Christians that want the destruction of Palestine, because they think that it's like a weird death cult of like people that believe that the more people that die, it'll bring the second coming of Jesus or something. Like, it's really crazy. But that's also a reason why there's not all Christians, like a very specific type of Christian, are Zionists. So I went down like a rabbit hole of reading about that, and I was like, this is why this is happening? What? Um, like this, yeah, it's a lot. But I digress. Getting into the movie, I'm like, yes, somehow. I mean, it's not even like I'm a political like pundit. Is that the word? Yeah, pundit. Like, my whole thing isn't about politics, but like, I'm not a news anchor or something, or like a political commentary person, but it's like politics, like everything is politics from your identity to whether, and that's like your gender identity, your racial identity, um, sexual identity. There we go. It's like, I know there's more, and it's like, I am someone who is queer. I am trans. I'm under the trans umbrella as someone who is non-binary, and I'm black. Like, I am the trifecta. I'm getting attacked from all sides about this stuff. If I was also a dark skinned person, like, oh my God. But yeah, it's like to have the privilege to not um think about those kinds of things, it's like, oh wow, you live in such a different world. Um and it is always interesting to come across, and this is just not related to that, but just like coming across like internet celebrities or something, or just even new musicians that have like millions of listeners or something. I'm like, there's just so many other worlds out there because I'll just like see whatever like new musician or artist or something, or like internet person, and I'm like, who is this and how do they have this many views? And honestly, that does kind of come into Backrooms a little bit because um I think a lot of the driving force of like why this movie did so well is because he already had this built up fan base. Because if you didn't know, Backrooms was a YouTube specifically, um, series of videos that started in 2022, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, the first short was published in January of 2022. Um, I should have looked into this more. I don't know if he was the original 4chan post, and which is funny. I'm saying that's funny because um, the fact that people are execs in Hollywood are trying to run to Reddit and look for new ideas because of how successful the Backrooms was. And it's like, Backrooms technically started in 4chan. And was it a creepypasta? I'm on the Wikipedia for it. Um, but I specifically, oh, here we go. I wanted to read the actual thing that started it all, which was this anonymous post in 2019. Um, Basically, it was there was an image, and under the image it said, "If you're not careful and you no clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the back rooms, where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly sig- segmented empty rooms to be trapped and got in. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you." And yeah, that was published in May 13, 2019. I'm like, ugh, I should have put that somewhere else because I am dyslexic. So I do have a hard time reading things, especially online, which is why I'm not into fanfics, unfortunately. I mean, I could print it out and stuff, but it's like, I don't want to print out something and it's not good. Um, Oh, that's kind of fun. So the photo, allegedly, according to this Wikipedia page, was taken, the specific photo that is the essence and look of Backrooms, both the YouTube web series and the movie, was taken in 2002 at a former site in Wisconsin. It was a furniture store, and it was while the new tenant was renovating. Oh, okay. So the the photo's origin had been lost until it was investigated in 2024. So 2 years ago, they actually figured out where the fuck that photo came from, and that's hella funny. I'm like, it would have just been funny if they just never figured that out. But yeah, so that's where the origin of the Backrooms comes in. So what was that? 2019? Yeah, 2019, 2018. That post goes up 2022. The first short goes up. He's got millions of views on that whole web series. And in 2023, he signs a deal with A24. And 3 years later, the movie comes out. I'm like, oh, yeah, it takes a very long time to make movies. But it is really cool to find out that, at least in the Backrooms, like the web series, he used Blender, which is this free 3D modeling animation. Just you can do so much in it uh to create the backrooms and the endless spaces and stuff. And oh, to get into the synopsis. So, for the movie, done talking about the web series. I might talk about it a little bit, but I only really watched the first one just to get an idea of sort of just an idea of how that was in general. And I had heard about Backrooms as it was happening, but I had no interest, honestly, had no interest at all. And what, that was 2018. So, yeah, no, I wasn't really on YouTube like that as well. Probably just watching Good Mythical Morning, if that, not really watching Smosh. I only really started watching Smosh again when I heard Anthony was back, and I was like, oh, nice. Um, but yeah, to get into the synopsis, after a therapist patient disappears into a dimension beyond reality, she must venture into the unknown to save him. And now, if I read that synopsis before watching this movie, I would have been like, oh, okay, this is why there's more of a, there's an emphasis on the therapist, because I really did walk into this kind of blind. And I was like, why is this lady on the cover, but we're following this man? And our two main characters are Clark, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, who was in things like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, which he also directed, and he's in the upcoming movie Children of Blood and Bone, and which is based on a book, which I know it's a little controversial with it because apparently some of the characters are going to be played by actors in general that are a little bit lighter skinned than is mentioned in the book. And I think what I was seeing was that it is very important that these people should be dark skinned. So there's like a colorism issue, which has made fans of the book not want to watch the movie. But it is cool that this is happening. So it's like, ugh, it's kind of annoying. So yeah, there's Clark, Mary, who's his therapist, who is played by Renette Rancive, who is again in that movie that I need to watch, Worst Person in the World. She was also in Sentimental Value recently and A Different Man. Um, she. Oh, okay. And then Clark has these two employees. Kat, played by Lakita Maxwell, who was in Generation, the HBO show. And then Bobby, played by Finn Bennett, who is in the Game of Thrones spinoff, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty sick, bro. Actually, that's kind of cool. They're both from HBO. Max shows. Oh, and then yeah, so I kept saying he, but it shouldn't sound like I was trying to laugh, but not laugh. But the director of this is Kane Parsons. He also wrote it with the help of Will Sodick, who has done things like Ash versus Evil, The Ash versus Evil Dead. There we go. And he also wrote the first episode of season one, nope, season four of Westworld with Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy. And I was like, don't remind me of Westworld. It got kind of rough the third season. And the fourth season, it picked up again. And I was excited for the fifth season, and they shot it, which I'm like, somebody should just leak it, please. Um, or they were planning to shoot it, and it was all written up and stuff. Something like that. All the actors got paid, and then it still got canceled. It still got canceled, and I got really upset about that because I liked the lore. I liked how um I liked what was going on, and I'm like, it's like it's relevant and it's not because, generative AI isn't really intelligent. It's just regurgitating things. We're not at that level yet of like actual artificial intelligence. And I mean, again, like years prior to the rebranding of generative AI, it was called machine learning. Um, but yeah, so it's like in Westworld, you have these sort of android like beings that gain sentience at some point and start to rebel, you know. Um, and then yeah, it's Jonathan Nolan, Christopher Nolan's brother, not the one that was on the run because he was like a hitman or something. I can't really remember. Um, so there's that. So it's like he didn't really do things on his own. I mean, there's like this whole thing about like him being 20 and so young, like one of the youngest directors, and he made a hit and stuff. And it's like he is self-taught. He is someone who spent a lot of time doing all these shorts, not just the Backrooms, but other shorts on YouTube. So it's like he has a distinct vision and you know, want, I guess, is the best way I could put it. But I'm like, A24 reached out to him probably. Okay, I'm not gonna say that, but they, created an agreement with him because they probably saw how well the web series was doing. Because I'm like, it has millions and millions of views and like what, 20 or so episodes. I'm gonna check that right now. And his name is like, is it Kane? Yeah, Kane Pixels on YouTube. I'm not gonna subscribe to you, buddy. Um, and yeah, there's like 22 episodes. He's got other things that he's done, and oh, that's cute. He posted the Backrooms trailer on here. But yeah, and I'm like, yeah, he directed it, but he's also probably working with people that he could talk to and create his vision. There were plenty of people who did the VFX, the special effects, a bunch of different studios, Oscar FX, Ziox Studios, Mr. Wolf VFX, Rotomaker, Barnstorm VFX. He had a script supervisor. I don't know why I was saying it like that. Rhea Rose Wilk, costume designer, Katie, Mika Katie. There you go. Set director, art director. Set director was Trevor Johnston. Art director Alan Dirkskin. Oh, and I actually thought this was kind of funny because one, there were like 23 producers on this. It's like it's a lot of people who were probably a really big support for him, Um, because not only was it like monetary support, but a lot of these people, even the people that I just named, minus like the VFX, they worked on The Monkey and Long Legs, which are two movies that Osgood Perkins did, and he is one of the producers. And James Wan, who, I love him because Saw and everything. His production company, Atomic Monster, also produced The Monkey. Atomic Monster has actually done a bunch more stuff than I realized. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But yeah, no, I'm like 23 producers all having their input and stuff and like probably helping him along to get this vision made and like helping him find the VFX people, the set designer and stuff. Like I was saying, these are people that worked with Osgood Perkins. And even the I think some of the actually no, it's mainly all of the stuff that I just said. Those people, the cinematographer, he was the second unit DP on The Monkey and Long Legs. His name is Jeremy Cox. Like these are people that helped him, it's like he didn't do this on his own. Yes, it's amazing that he was 20, 18, 19, 17, 18, 19 because what, it was 2023. Yeah, 2023 when he got this deal. It just came out. He just turned 21 or something like that. So I'm like, yeah, 3 years ago, he was fucking 18, like he was much younger than what they're saying. Uh, but no, I'm like, being a director isn't, you're not doing all of this alone. You're working in a team. Yes, you are managing a lot of these people, but you're not alone, So it is amazing that he got this opportunity, and it is really cool that we're seeing this happen a lot with YouTubers and stuff. And it's kind of funny that it's like YouTubers coming out of um, just making shit online, and now they're doing these horror movies. Because I'm like, what's going on? YouTubers, why are y'all doing horror movies? Because even with God, why can't I remember his name? Markiplier. He did the Iron Lung movie, and that's like based on a game, but it's also like a suspense horror film. And it's like, you good, buddy? You're known as like a comedy man. And you're making this horror film. And then, the Waka Waka brothers, they did Talk to Me and Bring Her Back. Two films that I really did enjoy, and I'm excited for the next one. Because I liked where they went. Like the overarching theme is grief, but I liked what they did with both of those films. And thankfully, I am kind of glad I didn't record this yesterday because I had a different opinion of this film, but then I talked to someone else who had watched this recently, and I was like, "Oh, actually, you made a good point." And I was also watching him talk, Kane Parsons talk about this movie or just the Backrooms in general, and like I was so stuck on the main character, Clark, and then Mary, that I wasn't thinking about the full picture of the Backrooms themselves being a character. I was just thinking of it as a setting, but it's um, like the person I was talking to made a good point of like, it's these loops and the people in the back room, especially like Clark, being stuck in a loop. And of course, I am going to be spoiling this movie, but it's like, we see Clark. Oh, actually, before I spoil this movie, I do have like my main complaint that I have about like any movie that's supposed to take place, or even a show that's supposed to take place in like the 90s, or just in general a time period that isn't our own. Um, I feel like, especially because this took place in 1990, and I'm like, that's the end of the 80s. But even before I go there, it's like everything in this film looks very new. And for a time period like 1990, and it was funny because I wanted to release this yesterday because, especially because the movie opens on Juneteenth, which I thought was kind of funny. I was like, oh, and it's coming out on Juneteenth, but it didn't. But no, it's like the main thing is like, especially before this overconsumption and everything that's going on, a lot of what happened previously is that like a lot of people got hand-me-downs and family heirlooms and things that were passed down from different generations. So even though, and we don't really see this too much in this film, but we do see it through the wardrobe of the characters. Because I'm like, people assumingly in their 20s in 1990 coming out of the 80s, I'm like, y'all should have at least still had big hair, or like medium hair, like a blowout should have still been happening. Like, uh, Bobby should have at least still had like a bleach blonde sort of look, more skater. I mean, it was cool. He's wearing the in apartheid shirt, and I'm like, yes, that was happening at that time. I'm like, oh yeah, reference to relevant things happening. But I still was just like, it was too neat and clean, and it's like, not that the 90s were dirty or anything, but it's just like there was a wornness of it, of like a, you starched these shirts really well and they were passed down from someone else. And I mean, even Clark's situation, it's like he got kicked out of his house. He's not an architect. He's not, um, very successful with his furniture business or anything like that. And he is apparently living in his furniture business. And I'm like, yes, so he probably was, trying to be presentable and act like he had everything together. But, when we saw him, in the few times we saw him outside of his workspace, there was still like this sort of cleanliness to him, I guess. Like, I feel like if he had more worn clothes or something, it would have added to. I mean, yes, of course, he's like lying to himself about his situation, but there was a level of storytelling that could have happened through just his clothing alone that was kind of missed. And even, and it's like there could have easily been like a racial aspect of like, okay, he is a black architect, of course he's not working. um but I think I do like the idea of the Backrooms opening up to someone, making itself available to someone who is stuck in a loop of their own making, because he is very much stuck on the fact that he works so hard. And we learn this through his talks with his therapist, because I'm like, he doesn't actually have any friends, he doesn't have family, he doesn't have anyone in his life except his therapist, who he goes to talk about. And she gets him to do this role play where she behaves as his ex, and he, is coming home, and she gets woken up because he comes home really late and he was drinking a lot. So it's like, okay, so there's a level of alcoholism to him, and he's like, sorry I did that, and actually I'm so tired and all this stuff because I'm working to put you through school, to put you through law school. Like, you get to afford to not to sit on your ass, essentially, is what he says, while I'm working so hard. And, she kicks him out. And it's like, yeah, because you are an alcoholic and not really a great person. It's like, sure, you're helping her out as your, that's your partner and everything like that. But like, you're not being a support to her. He feels unsupported, but, you know, alcoholism, it kind of numbs you to a lot of things. But even in his supposed sobriety, he's still stuck on not being supported by his so-called partner, so-called wife, and is very much resentful towards her and is upset that he's not, a successful architect and all this stuff. And um yeah, and he's getting nowhere with Mary, his therapist, as well. And so I'm like, oh, stop it. And then so after that whole role play is when he actually, okay, he finds the back rooms because he's trying to figure out why his electricity bill is so expensive. Because what the fuck? And the electrician can't figure anything out. They go to the basement and he looks at the switch breaker and realizes that there's like some weird switches on there, and it's like, where do these go to? They go to nothing. And later on, Clark is down there and then he sees this like glowing area, which is like an outline of a door frame. And he like touches around it and then he makes his way into the back rooms. And for him, I was like, why do these people have no sense of survival? Him, and Mary later on. Because I'm like, you really just went into the space and walked around, and you're like, oh, what's going on here? What's going on? What's all this furniture? I'm like, I'd be upset if I found this because I'm like, this is why the fuck my electricity bill is so expensive. Like, this is where all the power's going to. Like, what the fuck? And similarly, like the AI data farm, the data centers and stuff too, because that's shared on people's grids. And rather than these fucking companies paying their own electricity, it's being forced on everyday people. So now everyone's bills are way more expensive than they usually were because of these data centers. Not to mention all the other environmental stuff because people are like smelling crazy shit now. Like, it's just a chemical smell in the environment near these data centers and a sound that goes on 24 hours a day. And it's also affecting the drinking water in some parts. It's probably affecting like all the drinking water in whatever areas these are being built in. Um, but still, it's like literally there was a woman in Texas that talked about this just as a complaint and then she got arrested. I think she was released finally, but it was still just like, oh, so you can't even complain about this on the internet. That's crazy. Huh. Wonder why. So interesting. We live in a police state, you guys. But yeah. But I mean, I was also realizing, like, as I was watching the movie, I'm like, oh, for Clark, this is like the most interesting thing happening in his life because he's been so stuck in this like rumination of like his life sucks, and it's because his wife didn't help him and he wasn't supported and all this stuff, and like yada yada. He's a bad person because he pushes people away, and that's what he's saying in therapy. And he's like, how do I change? Do I want to change? I don't know. Is it bad? All this stuff. And he yeah, so I'm like, of course he is walking around. I'm like, yes, lack of survival skills, but of course he has no friends. He has which apparently he has no family either, or at least his family is far away. Uh, and he's just like, this place is amazing. There's all kinds of stuff in here. And it's to the point where he ventures in there all the time, and he has created a map of the inside and everything like that. And he goes to his therapist again, and he's like, I found something. Well, before that, he's just like, have you ever needed to 5150 someone? Which is like when a therapist calls the groupie sock people to come put you away in one of those facilities that you are never seen or heard from again. Um, it's a mental health facility that you get put into. But yeah, she's just like, no, not really, unless you sound like you're a danger to yourself or other people. And she's just like, are you okay? You know? And so then he goes into talking about how he found the space, and she's like, that sounds a little eccentric, but not to the point where I would do that to you. And of course, she doesn't believe him. And so then he calls up um, Bobby and Kat, and I also realized because at first I was like, "Ah, does he have no friends?" He didn't have a camera, and it was Bobby's camera that he checked out from the college. And so he takes them, shows them the space. Of course, they're like, he's a little crazy until he walks through the wall, and they're like, oh shit. Kat's the only one that's like, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this. Of course, her and Bobby are together. So she also has like an emotional connection to Bobby, even more so than just being his coworker and everything like that. And so they get to a part that Clark was unable to venture into, and so they tie Bobby. I'm like, why didn't you just let. Oh, wait. Clark did want to go down there with the camera, but was letting Bobby have control over it because it was under his name. So if anything happened, he would be the one to have to pay for it or whatever. So he felt the most comfortable handling the camera, and so they tied him by the waist to this like bed frame that was in the space. There's a lot of fucked up looking furniture and things in this space. And I don't remember the bed frame being fucked up. And now so we have there's a lot of interesting there's at least two very interesting visually interesting parts of the film, and that's this part when they're setting up him being tied and everything, where they go from the high quality camera to the camcorder footage. And there is the opening scene in the very beginning of the camcorder footage, and it's the people in the hazmat suits walking around, and there's a lot of like suspense and stuff, and the person gets carried away and everything like that. I was like, oh, these are very interesting, suspenseful, like going very much the found footage route. That is the signature of Backrooms, the web series. But we kind of pull away from that a bit and have it have be shot in this more high quality um sort of thing, which actually I'm gonna laugh because I literally I really this is so fucking funny. I'm just thinking about it because this is quite literally a movie shot in two different kinds of. Well, I don't have confirmation on that because they could have used like a filter or something for the VHS like mini DV camcorder footage. But if they did shoot it with two different cameras, I'm like, literally the thing that the person that I fired for my short film because he was not confident using my camcorder, and he was just like, I've never heard of someone using two different cameras for a film. And I was just like, okay, and I wanted two different quality cameras to use, but whatever. And I ended up just using the camcorder for the whole thing, which I was fine with because, I mean, at that point, I only had the one camera anyway. Like, I could have asked my like friends to bring out like a one of the Black Magics that they had or whatever, but I was like, it is late at night. I don't want to rush that. I'd rather just move on to the next thing and use the camcorder that I have, which I love that camcorder. It's Panasonic. Um, dang, what was it saying? Oh, yeah. So I'm like, those were like very visually interesting parts of the film, and also more of the suspenseful parts of the film, because honestly, this isn't really that scary of a movie. Um, there's suspense, uh, not really jump scares, um, but not really that scary. Like there's kind of a fucked up part that happens, and again, there are suspenseful moments, but it's really like a handful of stuff. But the whole movie, like we're kind of, let's say we're stuck with Clark. Uh, we are watching Clark's day to day. And this is what I was kind of saying to like my friend yesterday. It was just like, yeah, like we're following Clark, but we're getting flashbacks of Mary's childhood that was kind of fucked up, where her mom was like not allowing her to go outside. And I was like, and that was like flashbacks and dreams, and like her, watching her mom get put into a mental facility, which was like a build up to Clark. And okay, I'm like, this is probably why she was a little attached to Clark, but I was like, what is this relevant to the whole movie? And I think I'm realizing now that that was just like to give her a reason to make sure that Clark was okay. Because yeah, leading up to Clark asking the question of like, would you have you 5150 someone? She had that dream and sort of flashback scene happen um right before Clark had said this. So I'm like, okay, they did that to establish why she was attached to Clark a little bit, because she's like, let's make sure he's just not going to harm himself. Let's check in. I mean, I thought it would be interesting if she saw like the still life of her mom or something, because the creatures in this are called still lifes, and I understand why, but I'll get there. So yeah, so Clark ties Bobby by the waist, ties him to the bed frame. Bobby goes down, he ventures off, and this is when we get one of the more suspenseful, kind of scary parts of the movie, where he's like down in this area, he's filming it, we're seeing the footage of it. It's like kind of creepy. There's all these piles of clothes and everything like that. He sees his in apartheid shirt and these piles of clothes, and he's like, what the fuck? And then there's a creature that we don't see yet. It's just shadowy, that gets Clark. Or actually, before it gets Clark, Clark runs up. He almost gets away. And, I was I saying Clark the whole time? Bobby. Bobby. Oh my God. Jesus. Bobby was down there. He saw his end apartheid shirt. He runs back up. Kate, Kat, and Clark almost get him, but then Bobby is dragged away from some creature that we never seen. And also, what happens is Clark and Kat end up falling down too, and see Bobby get dragged into this other door, presumably dying. And then Clark and Kat are, trying to escape and run away, and they get separated at some point. Kat is able to see Clark, but Clark can't see her for some reason. And um dang, we're getting kind of hungry. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to wrap this up pretty soon. I've been talking for a minute, actually. Almost an hour. I mean, but I'm almost to the point. Uh but so the scene ends with us hearing Kat. Clark had already run into one of the still lives. This redheaded one, she was walking kind of freaky. And this other one, I thought he was just a doll, which I took all the still lifes to be kind of like dolls, or Clark was treating them like dolls later on. And he, yeah, it was just like one that was sitting and like flicking on and off light. But yeah, so Clark gets to this like pool area. Kat is talking to him and being like, "Watch out, look behind you." And then it cuts to black when we're watching Mary get to his furniture store, try to check in with him. The door is open, even though it's definitely closed. And it's like, okay, if the door was open, that means the mailman didn't check, because why is all this mail shoved under the door when y'all could have just put it in the building? Like that was kind of weird. And so she remembers what he said, makes it down to the basement, um, sees that he marked where the entrance is with tape, which is what he told like Bobby and Kat when they first came down. And she sees a fly go through, and it's just like, what the fuck? And then so she makes her way through as well, and then sees, finds this area, and she's walking around and everything like that, and she sees these drawings on the wall, which is again reminiscent of the web series. I was gonna say web comics, lol. And so she hears something moving, and it's Clark in the hallway. And it's like, oh, okay, why are you being creepy? And he's like, it's just me. Whisper, don't be too loud. And then he chokes her out, and I was like, what the fuck? He's like, don't worry, it's just me. And I was just like, yeah, we know it's just you, but you're also choking her out. She wakes up tied down to this chair. It's like a dinner setting area. We have the still lifes, and I'm calling them still lifes because in the IMDb, that's what they're called. We have redheaded still life, played by Rihanna Roberts, who was just a stunt performer in general. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. She has done stunts in The Last of Us, Tron Ares, Percy Jackson and Olympians, the show. And she was the stunt double for Jennifer Connelly in Snowpiercer, specifically episode 1. There's Bearded Still Life, Patrick, he's played by Patrick Bainham, who was a literal elf in the movie Elf. And it looked like, looking at his IMDb, it looked like he kind of took a break from acting starting in 2013 and came back into it in 2022. And then this was just kind of funny because this is the only still life with like an actual name name. And so the final still life's name is Archibald Leland Sutter Still Life, played by Dana Mamond, who whose only other credit is Love in Monroe Valley. At least on IMDb. They've probably done other stuff. But I was like, why the hell? You got bearded still alive, redheaded still alive, and then Archibald Leland Sutter still alive. I was like, why the fuck? Actually, I forgot to actually look into this full name because I'm like, is this a person? Like an actual person? Let me see. Okay, there's like a whole fandom thing, a fandom wiki. Do-do-do-do. There's a history of it, but from okay, I thought it was like something to do with the web series, but this is just like talking about the appearance in uh the movie, and I'm like, okay, that wasn't helpful. I already know. I can guess. It was interesting talking to my friend because they were saying that people thought, or the person that they talked to about this movie thought that the redheaded still life was actually just um Clark's wife. And I was like, I it is interesting, or like that's an interesting thing theory. Um, but I'm also like, I don't know if he would be this cruel to something that looks like his wife, because when she wakes up, he's like, let's role play, and then he scalps this redheaded still life, and I'm like, that's fucked up. He scalps her and then puts her hair on Mary so that she can look like his ex-wife, and they can go through the role play, and rather than, trying to, I guess, placate him or something, she's like, you're fucked up. You don't have to change. Whatever. It's okay. Just let me go, actually. And I mean, this is, of course, after he's like, yeah, these things, they don't feel anything. Look. And then he stabs the bearded still life in the neck, and it doesn't flinch. And he's like, you can even eat them. And I was like, actually, why don't we not do that? Like this, that was definitely like horrific and a fucked up scene. And this is also why I was saying he's an unlikable main character. Um, and he doesn't die right away. We're about to get into how he dies, which is so fun. But yeah, I don't know. I was like, I mean, yes, he was probably down there for a while and he felt comfortable because, again, this was like the most interesting thing that could be happening to him, but also a means of escapism from how shitty his actual life was, and he's able to live off these creatures. I don't know how the fuck he was able to just like be down there and not get killed right away. I don't know. Oh, wait, actually, I did have a theory. I felt like because he himself was stuck in a mental loop of what was going on with his life and everything like that, wanting to change, not changing, and all this stuff, that he was just accepted in the back rooms as just being a part of the back rooms. But when the therapist said it was fine to be who you are and sort of broke that loop for him, that caused his the Captain Clark character that he played for his trailer ad, there we go, ad for his store, which is how we get the still life. Captain Clark still life, like a full Captain Clark. Um, and this is also how we were introduced to Bobby having a camera earlier in the movie because he's filming it. But yeah, so it's like he gets emotional because he's like, wow, okay, it is okay for me to be who I am for his pride. I had to do it. I had to do it a second time. Be who you are for your pride. Because it's June. It's Pride Month. Be who you are. But, he's getting emotional because he's like, wow, I'm accepted and seen, finally. And I was right. And so his Captain Clark, this tall motherfucker, looking a little crazy in the face, played by a man who was 7 foot and 7 inches, which is crazy. And he's like, his name, did I write it down? Oh, Pirate Clark. I was calling him Captain Clark, but in the credits it's Pirate Clark, played by Bob Rosovsky. Ye Russian name. I gotta get my pronunciation better. Um, but according to IMDb, this is his second ever role. He was also in Alien Romulus playing the Offspring. I'm like, of course he was. Because you get really tall motherfuckers to play creatures. And I'm like, because that's what happened in the original Alien. That was a tall motherfucker in a costume walking around, you know? You put a suit over him. It's freaky. Alex Jones, the actor, plays so many creatures because he's just a tall motherfucker who's lanky, you know? Like, he was a creature from Shape of Water. He was the creature, oh my God. From Pan's Labyrinth, the hand one, that was him. Um, like, and he just does stuff with Guillermo del Toro in general. But yeah, so Pirate Clark shows up, and I was like, oh, okay, so they probably did the like little ball thing to get his body, and then they added CGI face over him to have him look like Clark, but not Clark. Shows up. He's like, hey, we're all good here. That's just our therapist. And I'm like, so y'all just been on good terms and all this stuff? Like, he's been rocking around, not wanting to kill you this whole time. And Pirate Clark picks him up. Meanwhile, Mary's like, I'm gonna get myself the fuck untied because I don't want to deal with whatever that is. And meanwhile, Archibald, which is funny because my cat is named that, so I'm like, please don't just start meowing because you're like, huh? I heard my name. My cats only respond to their name. I never do the pss, pss, pss to them because I name them based on because I just threw names at them, both of them. And if they responded to it, I was like, okay, this is your name. Because I was like, oh, whatever name you're responding to is probably similar to whatever your like cat name is in like your cat language, you know? Because I'm like, they probably have something. And I'm like, you wouldn't respond to this if it didn't sound like something you wouldn't respond to. But either way, Archibald is like flickering the thing on and off. The bearded still life is not flickering the lamp on and off. I was like, not just a thing. It was a lamp. The bearded still life is just not moving. The redheaded one is also not moving, really, not reacting. And yeah, Pirate Clark picks up Clark and then bites him on the neck and then, goes to kill him. And I was like, that was random. Well, I wasn't like that was random. I was just like, oh, it seemed like y'all had a rapport and now you just killed him. And I was realizing after the fact, it's like he was killed because he had broken the loop that was making it safe for him to be down there. Now that loop is broken, you shouldn't be here. And so Mary escapes and she's like, haha, we're gonna run away. She gets to a part of the back rooms that looks basically like that furniture store. And there's this cutout that Clark saw at the very beginning that I'm assuming is being used to draw out these still lifes and have them attack it so that they can then get knocked out because it's definitely a trap. But I'm gonna get there. So she tries to escape, and it's like, girl, this is a room within a room. It's not a building within the real world, Because she tries to open the door, the exit door. It's like, it's not gonna open, girl. That's not the reality of the situation. And Pirate Clark is walking very slow. Well, it's kind of fast, actually. It's got an actual wooden leg, unlike the Clark fake wooden leg that he used for his ad. And like what else? So she tries to grab something and use against Pirate Clark, and I'm like, this is. I was just like, where is this going? Because I don't think she can escape this. But she does break his wooden leg, and I was like, okay, that was smart. She tries to get away. She unfortunately triggers the trap, so she breaks the cutout, and these air canister things like blow on her, and that almost knocks her out. But she's able to sort of get to a point where she gets out of the airspace of that, but Pirate Clark is still behind her, tries to grab onto her. She gets out of his grasp, and she crawls through what is the movie poster's like wall essentially, and she makes it past. She makes it there to the other side, and then she runs into a bunch of men in hazmat suits, and they grab her and take her out of, presumably, it's an assumption, the back rooms. And this is when we finally get the scientist that we saw glimpses of throughout. His name is Phil, played by Mark Douglas. He was in The Lazarus Effect and The Mindy Project. Um, but he's like the main scientist that we get to actually hear talk. He tries to talk to her, Mary, about this. But before that, they make sure that she's an actual person and not just one of these creatures, not one of these still lifes, because they're like, where did she come from? And I'm trying not to jump. I'm trying not to sing Cotton Eye Joe right now because woo, I was anyway. But because yeah, where did she come from? Why isn't she in one of these hazmat suits? What's going on? And they do scans of her and everything, and they're like, okay, she's fine. And it's hella funny because the Phil is just like, yeah, so we used to make MRI machines and now we don't. This is our whole business, basically. And it's like, what is this? What are y'all doing? And, of course, he can't discuss that. And of course, he also can't tell her what they will do to her after the fact, and if she'll be let go or not. It's just like, okay, what am I talking to you for if you're not going to let me go? But we can assume she was let go, I guess, after explaining, what happened to her and Clark and everything like that, because she only went down there because she was trying to find him. And he kind of explains, like, how, she sort of disassociates as he's explaining. I'm saying she disassociates because his voice starts to fade out. I'm like, oh, okay. She's like, whatever. But yeah, so he is explaining like all these doors keep opening up everywhere, and this place is endless and all this stuff, yada yada. He's all enthusiastic, and she's just like, I don't care. I want to leave. Let me go. Um, and and then it goes from all of that. I'm trying to fully remember because I want to say, uh, it goes from. No, not the It goes from goes from her and them talking, and then oh, okay. So it really just kind of cuts to, I thought this was the case, but I couldn't remember. But yeah, it cuts to like all these different things that are kind of connected to Mary's memories and her trauma and stuff, and the resolve of it as things sort of in real life, decay and breakdown, it also happens through the backrooms as well. And eventually getting to the very scene that we saw of Mary and Phil in that interrogation room. And then we see a still life of Mary with her face, like multiple eyes and stuff, sitting at a table. And then the movie ends. And I do like that they're called still lifes because it's like if you think of still life, it is a painting or a photograph of a moment, whether it's an well, it's mostly objects. Um, these things captured in time in a moment. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense why they're called still lifes because it is just a moment in time. And these are objects of people. And just thinking about memory and how as you get older, some things you remember a little differently from other people. Um, or it's you don't have as strong of a grasp on certain memories as you did, years prior. And so everything's just a little bit more vague to you, or it's like fragments of memories and not the full thing, which is why um when it comes to like things like trials and stuff, witness testimony is it's pretty hard to get like not straight answers, but like it's hard to believe because memory is so it's not concrete. And that's why it's like harder to believe someone when it's like, okay, but your story keeps changing. And it's like, well, did you remember it properly? But not even just that, but like it's also like um sometimes, especially when you go through something traumatic, it's like it's hard to revisit those memories because it's like you're still unpacking it and understanding like what happened to you and processing it stuff. So memory is so interesting, and the back rooms are definitely that. It's like the memory of a place. Um, and especially with how things are right now with like fucking private equity destroying a lot of these big box places, like pay less. Um, and like Circuit City was like the first big one for me, or and then like Blockbuster as well. But not only that, it's like you have these buildings, Forever 21, and places that no longer exist now. And rather than something replacing it, they just stay these empty skeletal stores and spaces in sort of big cities. And it's like, okay, so what are we doing here? And in some instances, they just become these decrepit things that are just never used. And it's like, is it because of, is it too expensive to rent out to anyone? Like, what's going on? Like, this could be anything else, really, which is kind of just fucked up. But yeah, and it's like, I do like the idea, because, oh, this was, because I was so stuck on there not being these like bigger themes with like what was going on with Clark and Mary and things like that. And I, forgot to really just pull back and think about the backgrounds themselves as the actual theme of it. And that did make me like the movie more because I was just like, there's no like overarching thing going on here. And it's like, there is with the actual backrooms themselves. And because Backrooms is such a vastly popular thing on YouTube between, very young people. Um, it's like, of course, this would become successful because it's a well-loved internet web series, and it's like, and he did a good job as like someone, first, like, this is his first feature film. He's done all of these backroom shorts and things like that, it's like this is his most like mainstream thing. I do feel it um disingenuous to say that this is like the first thing he's ever done, because it's like he has been directing his own stuff for a very long time since he was like what 14, 15. And it's like it's cool that he had the environment to execute this kind of stuff on his own for fun and sort of teach himself like how to do this kind of thing. And it sucks that um not everyone can do that. I do love that it's a lot easier to get into things like filmmaking, photography, and animation and stuff because there's so many more tools out there that are a lot more easily accessible. It's like again, he used Blender, and that is a free software. Like it is free. It's open source. You can just download it. It's not even like that big of a file either. It's like 3 gigs or something, and you can do so much on it. And people use it for a lot of things. There's Unreal Engine, which is both a, let me look it up. Unreal. It's a gaming software. It's also a software that people use for movies as well. I don't know how much it is though. If it is even. Okay, if you make under $1 million revenue, you can just download it for free. If you make over $1 million revenue, there's a royalty-based option or a seat-based option. But otherwise, Unreal Engine, another free thing because what the hell? Um, Tribute to the Unreal Engine. Okay, so you can do a royalty. It's a 5% royalty. Seat base means you're paying 1,800 a year. And that's for like commercial purposes, and you've made more than $1 million in the last year, and you're not creating a game. Oh, okay. Royalty based is for games. Seat based is for like films and shit. But I'm like, yeah, that's like so many things, and like there's so many programs that are alternatives to Adobe, the whole Adobe suite, um, that you can get for free essentially as well. I'm like, this is really cool. It's making doing creative stuff a lot more accessible. Um, and fuck AI. Like just in general, it is a thing that has taken from not only big creators, but small creators that are just trying to get their foot out there, whether it's with art or music. There was a website that was just published, so you can search on Sono or whatever the fuck like database to see if your music was shared to or trained on this AI music program. And people were like, oh wow, things that I haven't even released were trained on this. I just put it on YouTube or something. It's not even on like streaming platforms that was trained on this. People are finding like 300 of their tracks were trained on these things. And so now people are going to do a class action lawsuit. Like, yeah, because what the fuck? It's like, it is a program, it's a software that steals from people, extracts things, and then regurgitates it. It's like it doesn't create anything new because it is taking from actual people. And it sucks when, like, say for instance, an artist is complaining about AI, but then they turn around and use like AI to create words or copy or something. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing here? It's really shitty. And it's also doing so many environmental things that are awful. It's like, what do you mean there are 200 data centers in the US alone? It's like, what? I didn't even know that. I'm like, why are these popping up so much? We could literally be creating solar power grids all over, but it's like because we live in capitalism and solar powered things can be stored and used. It's like, oh, but that's not a net positive for people's money and pockets, so we're not going to do that. But anyway, happy Juneteenth. Support Black people. Support, um, support me too, I guess. 'Cause I am Black, and you can go to my Patreon, uh, patreon.com/Vinoirs Film Club. I will have the live version of me doing this on there. I'm trying to come up with other stuff to do on there as well. So as low as $3, you can see me talk as well. Um, and I'll have like Patreon exclusive episodes on there. You can follow me on Instagram at V_new R_ and check out the podcast archive at www.nwwitapod.com. And yeah, that was V Noire. And I will see y'all next time. Bye.